All I Want by Margaret Johnson. Chapter 1. A bad start to a birthday. I wake up feeling sick. This is partly because I drank so much wine with my friends last night, but mostly because today's my 30th birthday. 30 years old! I can't believe it. I just can't believe it. How can I be 30? Okay, I know 30 isn't exactly old, but it's a lot older than 29, believe me. You see, I had a long list of things I wanted to do before I was 30. Actually, now I've got 2 lists, my original list and a new one, because 3 weeks ago my life changed forever. But I'll tell you about that in a moment. Here are the lists. List 1. 1. Travel around the world. 2. Write a best-selling book. 3. Buy a house or a flat, preferably with a garden and a sea view. 4. Give up smoking. 5. Give up headaches due to drinking too much. 6. Give up problem boyfriends. 7. Go skiing this Christmas instead of visiting my family. List 2. 1. Have a conversation with Brad Courtney lasting longer than 5 minutes and without my knees shaking. 2. Get through a whole day at work without annoying Brad Courtney with my careless mistakes. 3. Tell my boyfriend Barry I do not want to go out with him anymore. 4. Tell Brad Courtney I love him. 5. Get married to Brad Courtney. 6. Go skiing this Christmas with Brad Courtney. 7. Have Brad Courtney's children, preferably a girl and a boy, both with his beautiful dark eyes. By now, I think you will have guessed that 3 weeks ago I met Brad Courtney and fell madly in love with him. You might also have guessed that he's not in love with me. Yet. I work for Brad, or at least I do while his assistant, June Weatherby, is in hospital. June broke her leg when she fell off a horse. I wouldn't want you to think I'm happy that she's lying in pain in her bed at the hospital, because I'm not, of course. However, I am very happy that her accident has given me the chance to work for Brad. If June's horse had been a calm sort of horse, instead of a wild one called Flame, then I'd never have met Brad, and I'd never have fallen in love with him. I work for a temp agency, you see. They find temporary staff for people like Brad. I've never had a job for longer than 2 months, and most of them are only for 2 or 3 weeks, sometimes even 1 week. I like the variety, the different people, and the different work. Or at least I used to. Now I think I'd be happy to stay at the Courtney Art Gallery forever. Brad. Oh, Brad. I know it must be almost time to get up, but as it's my birthday, I'm allowing myself to stay in bed for a little longer to dream about him. Brad's so handsome, so clever, so important. He's also so attached to his perfect girlfriend, Tanya. Life just isn't fair. After a while, I carefully open my eyes and look at the clock. 10:05. 10:05? I'm an hour late. I jump out of bed and quickly get dressed, Brad Courtney might be handsome, clever and important, but he also has a habit of being cross. I'm in serious trouble. Again. In the 3 weeks I've been working at the art gallery, I've already been late 4 times. And how will I ever marry Brad and have his children if he asks me to leave my job and I never see him again? Shoes! Shoes! I cry as I run from the bedroom, trying to brush my hair and button up my blouse at the same time, almost tripping over as I go. The living room's untidy with the remains of the small party I held last night. There are wine glasses, wine bottles, chocolate papers, but no shoes. Think, Alex, think, I tell myself, holding my head. Then I see one shoe underneath the sofa. One shoe. Where's the other one? Oh, hell! I go back into the bedroom with one shoe on and eventually find the other one hiding under the bed. I quickly put it on and run to the front door. There's a pile of birthday cards on the doormat, and I pick them up and run to catch the bus. I often walk to work. It takes about 20 minutes or so, but it's a nice walk through the park and then along the seafront into the centre of Brighton. I like it at all times of the year. Last winter, there was even snow on the beach. But this morning, there's no time for a pleasant walk, and luckily for me, there's a bus coming down the hill. I put my hand out to stop it. "Where are you going, love?" The bus driver smiles at me. So do the other passengers. Either everyone's being very friendly or... I look down at my clothes and realize my coat's buttoned up wrongly. On one side it's dragging on the floor, and on the other side it's lifted up to my knees. I smile at everybody, pretending to be perfectly happy to wear my coat like that, and take a seat right at the back of the bus. Then I sigh and close my eyes. What a way to start a birthday. Tired, ill, embarrassed, and late for work. Still, at least I've been sent plenty of birthday cards. Unless they're all Christmas cards, and everybody's forgotten my birthday. The first one I open is a birthday card from my brother, Rob. "I can't think of you as being 30, it says on the front. And inside is, "Without dying of laughter." There's a badge attached to the front. 30 today, it says. Well, I won't be wearing that. The card from Mum and Dad isn't much better. There's a note inside written in Mum's untidy handwriting. 30 years old! I can't believe so much time has passed. It almost makes me feel old. Fantastic. I search the pile of envelopes to find a card that might be a bit more cheerful, and recognize the handwriting of my friend Susan. Beauty Queen, it says on the front of the card. That's better, even if it isn't true. I suppose I'm almost pretty, but I'm certainly not beautiful, especially when I've got a headache and I haven't had time to put any makeup on. I open the card. "Wishing you all you wish for yourself in the year ahead," Susan has written. Frowning, I put the cards back into my bag. My friends have very clear ideas about what they want from life. Susan wants to be an office manager. Diana wants to save the world, and Kerry wants to be a famous dancer. They all care about their work a lot, whereas I just do a little of this and a little of that without ever getting very far. Perhaps it's time to change all that. Perhaps I should make up my mind to do the things on both my lists in the year ahead. Yes, why not? After all, I might not be interested in being an office manager or a dancer, but I am interested in Brad Courtney. Very interested. Okay, so I've only known him for 3 weeks. But what difference does that make? I fell in love with him at first sight, at the job interview. Yes, this time next year I'll be married. To Brad. I'll also be finishing off my best-selling book before going on a skiing holiday over Christmas. With Brad. And while we're on holiday, we'll try to make a baby. No, 2 babies. Twins. A son and a daughter. A little Brad and a little Bradette.
"Weren't you getting off here, love?"
The bus driver calls out to me kindly, and I get quickly to my feet. Oh, yes. Yes, thank you. How can I have been so busy with my daydreams that I almost travelled past my bus stop? Aren't I late enough already?
"Have a good day, love,"
the driver says, just before the bus doors close, and looking back, I see he's laughing. The Courtney Art Gallery is in Ship Street, just off the seafront. When I get there, it's almost 10:30. I stop a few meters away and take a few deep breaths. Then I walk up to the door. But the door won't open. The gallery's locked. Amazed, I stand there and look through the window. The gallery is never closed on Monday mornings. Where's Brad? I stand there worrying for a while, and then suddenly I see a familiar face next to mine in the glass. Brad! I turn, my face going red, as it often does when I'm near him. Oh, how I wish it didn't. But he's so attractive, and I like him so much it makes me feel nervous. And when I feel nervous, I either can't think of anything to say, or I say the wrong thing and end up looking stupid. Today, though, I'm too worried about Brad to think about myself. He looks tired and ill, and his face is very pale.
"I'm so sorry, Alex,"
he is saying.
"You've been here since 9 o'clock.
I say, wondering whether I should explain about being late myself.
It was very good of you to wait,"
he continues, and I shut up. Well, it won't harm anyone if he thinks I've been waiting outside the gallery for 1.5 hours, will it? And he'll never know I was late.
"Come on,"
he says.
"I'll buy you a coffee to apologize."
Thanks, I say, but he's already walking quickly away. I run after him, wondering whether I should ask what has happened, or whether I should just wait until he tells me. But what if he doesn't tell me? I'll die of curiosity. I say, running after him along the street. Is everything all right?
"No,"
he answers, walking quickly on. Oh, I say, and because I can't think of anything else to say after that, I remain quiet until we're seated at a table in the Seaview Cafe at the end of the street. We order coffee, and when it arrives, Brad drinks his silently for a while before looking at me across the table.
"Alex,"
he says seriously,
"I have a very important question to ask you."
I swallow, feeling nervous again. He's going to ask me out to dinner. He is. Brad Courtney's going to ask me out on a date. Perhaps he knows it's my birthday. Yes, I say in a shaking voice, and he looks at me with his beautiful dark eyes.
"Why are you wearing one black shoe and one white shoe?"
he asks. What? I say. For a long moment I don't understand him, and then he begins to laugh, loudly. I look nervously down at my feet and see that it's true. On my left foot I'm wearing a black shoe, and on my right foot I'm wearing a white shoe. I remember the laughter of the bus driver and the smiles of the other passengers, and I understand suddenly why they were so amused. Oh, no, I groan, putting down my coffee cup. I close my eyes, covering my face with my hands. Brad's still laughing, and for a horrible moment I imagine myself at our wedding. There I am at the church, in a white wedding dress. I'm walking with my father towards Brad, and all the guests are turning to look at me. Brad turns to look at me too, smiling. Then suddenly he starts to laugh, exactly as he's laughing now. I look down at my feet. There they are, at the bottom of my beautiful wedding dress, one in a white shoe and the other in a black shoe. And suddenly all the guests are laughing, even the priest's laughing, and my face is turning bright red.
Oh, that's so funny,
Brad's saying now.
Thank you, Alex. You've quite cheered me up.
All right, I say, my face really red now.
Is it the latest fashion?
He asks.
If I go back outside, will I see other people wearing different-coloured shoes? One red shoe and one brown shoe, perhaps? Or what about one green and one blue?
He begins to laugh again, and I sit and look at him. I try to make myself hate him, but I can't do it. Why were you late this morning? I ask, and immediately he stops laughing and drinks some more of his coffee. Before he can answer, the cafe door opens, bringing in both a man and the wind straight from the sea. I recognize the man. It's Arthur Grant, one of the gallery artists. He paints landscapes and is one of Brad's most successful clients. This is probably one of the reasons why Brad's always so friendly towards him.
Arthur!
Brad's calling out to him.
Good to see you. Let me buy you a coffee.
Arthur Grant is never a happy man, but today he looks angry as well as unhappy.
Where have you been?
He demands.
I've been trying to get into the gallery ever since 9 o'clock this morning. There was nobody there.
Brad looks at me across the table. My face goes red again.
I'm so sorry, Arthur,
Brad says.
Staff problems. Quite unavoidable. Please, sit down and have a coffee.
No, thank you,
Arthur says coldly.
I only came to tell you I won't be showing my paintings next month after all.
What?
Brad gasps.
I won't be showing my paintings at the Courtney Art Gallery next month, or any other month. There you are, I've told you. Good day.
Arthur turns away.
But Arthur!
Brad calls after him.
Arthur!
But Arthur Grant has already gone. Now it's Brad's turn to cover his face with his hands.
I don't believe this,
he groans.
How bad can a day get?
There's silence for a while, and then, stupidly, I decide to speak. I wonder why he's decided to cancel the exhibition. Brad looks at me, and immediately I wish I'd remained silent.
Exactly what time did you arrive at work today, Alex?
He asks. I look down at the table. Oh, more or less,
Just before I arrived myself.
Brad helps me out, and I nod my head miserably. There's silence for a while, then finally Brad speaks.
Come back, June Weatherby,
he says cruelly.
Please.
He finishes his coffee and walks to the door.
Take the rest of the day off,
he says.
And, Alex, make sure you get an early night tonight, won't you?
Then he turns and walks from the cafe, leaving me to pay the bill. Chapter 2. A bit about my peculiar family. I hate June Weatherby. She reminds me of a girl who used to be in my class at school, Helen Peters. We children used to call her St. Helen, because she was so perfect at everything. The teachers all loved her, and somehow I know June Weatherby's school teachers loved her too. I also know that neither June Weatherby nor St. Helen would ever leave the house wearing different coloured shoes. By now it's 11 o'clock. I pay for the coffee and leave the cafe. Brad's nowhere to be seen, and for a moment I wait on the pavement, wondering what to do with my unexpected day off work. I don't actually want a day off, you see. Yes, I know that sounds crazy. Most people would be celebrating. But all it means to me is a whole day of not being with Brad. Even Brad laughing at my mistakes is better than no Brad at all. A cold December wind's blowing straight off the sea. It's not a day to be standing around, so finally I start to walk towards home along the seafront. All the big old hotels are in this part of the town. They were built almost 150 years ago, when Brighton first became a popular place for holidays, and they still look good today, especially with all their Christmas decorations up. I suppose the Grand Hotel's a bit ridiculous, but I do like it. Actually, I've always thought it looks a bit like a big white cake. A big white wedding cake. Oh, how I wish I was the sort of girl who wakes up on time every morning. The sort of girl who always has a tidy flat and cupboards full of clean clothes. Someone who can cook delicious meals and organise perfect parties. That type of girl would be really useful at the Courtney Art Gallery. So useful, in fact, that Brad Courtney wouldn't be able to imagine life without her. Alex, hi! I'm so full of miserable thoughts that I don't see my friend Diana until I've almost walked into her. She's standing outside the Grand Hotel, holding a huge bunch of flowers. That's her job, you see, delivering flowers. Her delivery van's parked on the road. It has a picture on the side of a man and a woman kissing. Kiss flowers, it says, for that perfect someone in your life. Happy birthday! I try to smile. Thanks, Diana. Are those flowers for me? Only if your name's Kitten, she smiles. Kitten? I ask. That's what it says on the card. To Kitten from Puppy, Diana tells me. I can tell what Diana thinks. She hates kiss flowers and is embarrassed to drive the van around. She's only doing the flower delivery job to save some money so she can travel to Africa to study rare animals. I think it's lovely, I say, and she frowns at me. Don't tell me, she says. You're thinking about that Brad Courtney, aren't you? You're wishing he would send you some kiss flowers. I bet you'd like him to call you Kitten. If you met him, you'd understand, I tell her. He's so perfect, so fantastic. Yes, I know, you've told me several times before. Anyway, why aren't you at work? I frown, remembering the mystery of the locked gallery. I don't know, I say. Brad gave me the day off. The gallery's closed. Diana doesn't think this is anything to worry about. Wonderful, she says. You can do something really special on your birthday. What? I ask miserably, feeling sorry for myself. Everyone else is at work. Go shopping, Diana suggests. No money. Well, go swimming then. She tries again. No energy. No money and no energy, okay. Diana thinks for a while. I know. I could give you a lift to Rottingdean. That's where my next flower delivery is. You could visit your mother. I think about it for a while, wondering if this is really how I want to spend my birthday, and then I sigh. All right then, thanks. Okay, just let me deliver these flowers to Kitten, and I'll be right with you. Here, you can wait in the van. Diana hands me the van keys and disappears inside the hotel. At this point, I think I'd better tell you something about my parents. You see, I love them both very much, but they're not exactly relaxing people. In fact, they're both a bit crazy. Crazy and unusual. They don't live their lives the way other people live their lives. They don't even think the way other people think. Actually, it's probably a good idea for you to meet them, because then you'll understand why I sometimes find life so difficult myself. One of my first memories ever is of a school sports day when I was about 6 years old. There was a school sports day every summer. We children ran in races, and our parents came to watch. All the mothers wore nice summer dresses with flower patterns on them, and summer shoes. My mother wore a flower-patterned dress too, but unfortunately she also wore flowers in her hair. Lots of them. And she didn't wear any shoes. None at all. Actually, when I was 6 years old, I thought she looked very pretty, but I do still remember the other mothers looking at her and laughing. That's when I first realized she was different to other mothers. Oh, by the way, Mum's name is Willow. A willow is a type of tree that often grows close to rivers. Dad's name is Moon. Moon is... well, you know what the moon is. These are my parents' Earth names. Their real names are Betty, Mum, and Jeff, Dad. They chose their Earth names 2 years ago because they said they wanted to feel closer to nature. I've made it very clear to Mum and Dad that I don't want to have an Earth name myself, but I still see Mum looking at me sometimes, and I know she's thinking about names. When I'm not there, they probably call me Star or Wood. But I'm quite happy with Alex, thank you. I don't even like Alexandra, which is my full name. My brother Rob lets Mum and Dad call him Tree, but then he lives hundreds of kilometres away in Scotland, so he doesn't see them very often. Besides, there aren't any trees on the Isle of Skye where he lives, so perhaps he feels his Earth name is useful. Diana is coming back out of the hotel now. To my surprise, she's still holding Kitten's flowers.
Happy birthday,
she says, getting into the van and giving the flowers to me. Didn't Kitten want them? I ask, and she laughs.
No, she didn't,
she says, starting the van.
In fact, she told me she thought Puppy was a dog. She says she's given up men completely.
Poor Puppy, I say, burying my nose in the flowers to smell them, but Diana doesn't seem to care.
He probably only gave her flowers because he felt guilty about something, she says.
I look at her as she turns the van round, and we drive along the seafront towards the Palace Pier. Have you always hated men, Di? I ask, and she seems quite surprised.
Who says I hate men? I don't hate them. I just, well, pity them, I suppose. They're so weak compared to us women.
I laugh. You just haven't met the right men, Di, that's all, I tell her. Brad isn't weak at all. Diana smiles at me.
Of course not. I was forgetting all about the wonderful, perfect, strong Mr. Courtney.
Ha ha. I know she's joking, but I don't mind. I like Diana. She's good for me because she's so confident. I've never known her to have any doubts about anything. She decided 3 years ago she wanted to study rare animals, and she's been working hard to save the money ever since. I'll really miss her when she leaves next year.
Come on,
she says now.
Tell me exactly what makes Brad Courtney so perfect.
And don't just go on about his looks. You know they don't count for me. Some of the most interesting animals are the most ugly. Well, Brad is rare, like one of your rare animals. There aren't many men like him around.
Come on, Alex. Try to tell me exactly what makes him so rare.
I sigh. It's so difficult to put into words, Di. And there's no use saying that looks don't come into it, because they do. I don't know. When Brad enters a room, it's suddenly different. I'd know he was there even if I was looking the other way. It's chemical. Diana still looks doubtful.
You're talking about lust, not love, Alex. You just want to take him to bed and make love to him.
I don't deny this, because it's true. I do want Brad to make love to me, but it isn't all I want.
But those feelings of lust just don't last for long, do they? She continues. Which is fine if you can accept that if you got involved with Brad, it would just last for a few weeks. But I know you've probably got your wedding planned already.
You see how well my friends know me.
You've probably even thought of names for the children you're going to have with him.
People do meet, fall in love, and get married, I object, and she nods.
Of course they do. And maybe I'm wrong about Brad, but I don't think so.
You haven't seen the way he looks at me sometimes, Di. I try to explain. It's as if he sees right inside me and knows everything about me. My face feels suddenly hot. It's as if he can see through my clothes. Diana sighs again.
Okay, she says. I give up. I tried to make you see sense, but I can see I'm wasting my time. Let's talk about something else. Your book. Have you started writing your book yet?
I pull a face. You'll remember item number 2 on list number 1, the best-selling book. Diana's always asking me if I've started to write it. You see, if writing a best-selling book was something Diana wanted to do, she would just sit down and do it. She wouldn't just think about it for years as I've done. No, not yet, I reply.
You should do, she says. I bet you'd feel really good if you actually started to write it.
The van has now left the houses of Brighton behind. Out of view, far below us, is the marina with its shops and boats, and next to us are green fields. In the holiday season, people play games here, but today the grass is empty. Rottingdean is 6 kilometres from Brighton, and in the summer this road is busy with tourists and open-top buses. It's fun to sit at the top of the bus with the wind blowing through your hair from the sea. But I won't be catching an open-top bus home today. It's far too cold. I sit quietly and think about what Diana said about my book. She might be wrong about Brad, but she is right about this. I would feel good if I started to write it. Yes, I'll make a start as soon as I get home from visiting Mum and Dad. Perhaps I'll write an adventure story. Something really exciting that could be turned into a film. About hidden gold in the jungle. There could be robbers and maybe a girl getting kidnapped. I could base the girl on me, only make her more beautiful and much braver. And the hero, the man who would fight the robbers and save the girl, well, the hero could be just like Brad. Brad. It's useless. I can't think about anything but him. I sigh. Diana looks at me. Brad? She asks, and I nod. Diana shakes her head. Oh, dear. Well, perhaps you should ask your mother for advice about Mr. Courtney if you won't listen to me, she suggests. I look at her. Diana, I say, you have met my mother, haven't you? She laughs. Oh, yes, she says. I was forgetting. Soon after this, we arrive in Rottingdean, and Diana stops outside my parents' house. By the way, Alex, she says as I get out of the van, you do know you're wearing different-coloured shoes, don't you? It's the latest fashion, I say. Didn't you know? Chapter 3. Life should be like a colourful vase. Your Mr. Courtney sounds fantastic, my mother says, and I smile, thinking how annoyed Diana would be if she could hear. Much better than boring Barry. Mum? Well, sorry, darling. Barry's very nice, of course, but he is a bit boring. You have to agree. I've always wanted you to have an exciting life. He's the type to want you to live in a small house in a small town and to have 2 children, a girl and a boy. You had a girl and a boy, I remind her. Today, my mother's dressed in a short orange skirt and a red pullover. Her hair's orange too, and she's had it cut really short, like a boy's. For some reason, she's wearing a red hat, even though she's indoors and the house is warm. She certainly isn't typical of people who live in Rottingdean. Neither is Dad. Mum noticed my odd shoes straight away, but she thought they looked really good. From now on, she'll probably wear odd shoes herself. Yes, darling, I did have a boy and a girl, but I didn't mind if I had 2 girls or 2 boys, or even 3 girls and 3 boys. The point is, we didn't plan it all out the way Barry plans things out. We left it up to nature. Nature. How often have I heard that word from my mother, I wonder? Mum notices my expression. Don't look like that, darling. Nature's a wonderful thing. And your feelings for this Brad sound very natural to me. I'd love to meet him. No, no, no! Poor Barry has met Mum and Dad a few times. Actually, he quite likes them, even though he thinks they're strange. They're always very nice to him. The poor man has no idea they think he's boring. But Brad? No, I can't imagine Brad meeting my parents at all. He thinks I'm strange enough. Oh, I haven't given you your birthday present yet, Mum remembers, jumping up. As she goes out of the room, I try to guess what the present will be. I've received some very unusual presents from Mum and Dad over the years, as I expect you can imagine. Playing cards for telling my fortune, huge, hairy, handmade pullovers, and once, when I was a child, a pet sheep. Actually, I loved the sheep. I called him Willy Willy, and he lived in the back garden and kept the grass short. Here you are, darling, Mum says, returning with the biggest vase I've ever seen. I made this for you myself. Wow! I hold out my arms for the vase. It's really heavy. Thank you, Mum. The vase is blue. Well, a lot of it's blue, but it's also red and green, with yellow spots. I do hope you like it, Mum's saying. I enjoyed making it. She looks at me. In fact, darling, that vase is a lot like the life I'd like you to lead. Exciting and colourful. I put the vase down on the floor and give my mother a kiss. I'll do my best, Mum, I tell her. I'll do my best. When I set off for home later on, I get strange looks from passengers on a bus for the second time that day. This time, I'm wearing odd shoes, and I can hardly be seen from behind Mum's vase and kitten's flowers. I almost expect the bus driver to ask me to buy a ticket for the vase, since it's so large it needs its own seat. Anyway, now you've met my mother, you can imagine, I'm sure, what it was like to grow up with such parents. Rob, my brother, is very like Mum and Dad. He never minded being different from other boys, and he's grown up to be a man who doesn't mind being different to other men. But as a child, I always wished and wished to have a mother and father who were like everyone else's mother and father. I was terrified of becoming strange like them. I still am. Perhaps that's why I decided to be Barry's girlfriend in the first place, because he's ordinary. And now I've fallen in love with someone who's far from ordinary. Perhaps I'm more like Mum than I like to think I am. In a few years' time, I'll probably have orange hair and be proud of my Earth name. And I'll probably still be wearing odd shoes. When I finally get home after carrying the huge vase up the hill from the bus stop, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon and I'm exhausted. Also, my head still hurts from last night's wine. Maybe I should go to sleep for half an hour. Yes, that's the best thing to do. Then perhaps when I wake up, I'll be more in the mood to go out and celebrate my birthday. But when I wake up, the room's in total darkness. I quickly switch on the light and look at the clock. 7 o'clock! I let out a small cry. Oh no! I'm supposed to be meeting Barry in a restaurant at 7:30. As I rush around getting changed, I feel as if the morning's repeating itself. Only this time, before I leave the house, I make quite sure I'm wearing matching shoes. I manage to stop a taxi, and, much to my surprise, I arrive at the restaurant almost on time. Barry isn't there yet, which is odd, because usually he's at least 10 minutes early. As I'm almost always at least 10 minutes late, he often has to wait 20 minutes for me. Strangely, this never seems to make him cross. Sometimes I'd like him to be cross. I know it seems silly, but Barry's far too nice to me. He isn't as boring as Mum says he is, but he is too nice. I'd probably like him a lot better if he shouted now and then the way Brad does. Brad, there he is again, popping into my mind. Brad, Brad, Brad. I can't go on being Barry's girlfriend when all I do is think about Brad. It's cruel and selfish. I must tell Barry tonight that it's over. The only thing is, as it's my birthday, he'll probably arrive with a present for me. Oh, help. Miserably, I order a drink and sit at a table to wait, practicing what to say to Barry in my mind. You see, Barry, I like you very much, but... Barry, I'm sorry, but I've met someone else. Barry, thanks so much for the lovely present, but actually, I've decided... Oh no, this is going to be awful. Just then a woman comes in. As she walks past my table, I smell her perfume. It's very familiar. She sits facing me at a table in the far corner of the restaurant, and I recognize her straight away. Tanya Stevenson, Brad's girlfriend. This is definitely the worst birthday I've ever had. Quickly, I pick up a menu and hide behind it, looking at Tanya over the top. She's wearing a dress I saw in a shop a few weeks ago. A dress that was far too expensive for me to buy. It cost more than I earn at the gallery in a week. Her blonde, shoulder-length hair is perfect, of course, and so is her makeup. Suddenly, I feel very untidy. I've brushed my hair, but it would never look as perfect as Tanya's, even if I brushed it for a whole hour. The little black dress I'm wearing is over a year old and a bit too tight for me at the moment. My weight's always changing, you see. Sometimes I'm quite thin, but more often I'm a little fat. I take after my mother that way. The difference is, my mother doesn't mind, whereas I do. I need a cigarette. I definitely need a cigarette. Okay, I know I've given up, but this is a crisis. Did I bring any cigarettes with me? Yes, surely I did. I begin to search anxiously in my handbag, but just then I notice the no smoking signs everywhere around the restaurant. Okay, I can manage without a cigarette. Yes, of course I can. I can! I'll just have to drink more wine, that's all. I continue to watch Tanya over the top of my menu and see her take a lipstick from her bag. Very carefully, she paints her lips bright red, and I wonder if Brad will be kissing those lips later on. Brad! If Tanya's here, then Brad will probably be arriving any minute. And suddenly I remember him asking me to telephone to reserve a table for him at this restaurant. How could I have forgotten? I hated doing it.
I thought I told you to get an early night, Alex, says a familiar voice at my shoulder.
And there he is, looking more handsome than ever in a smart grey suit. I know, I say, my mouth suddenly dry with nervousness. But I couldn't. He's looking at me in that way I told Di about earlier on, his dark eyes staring straight into mine, as if I'm the only person in the restaurant.
You couldn't?
He repeats.
I see. Someone came round to your house and forced you to come out, perhaps. They had a gun, did they? Or was it a knife?
He's joking, of course. The trouble is, when he makes jokes like this, I can never think of anything clever or funny to say back to him. Anyway, Tanya's calling to him from across the restaurant. Brad! I'm over here, Brad! He looks up and waves at her.
Well,
he says to me,
if you're still sitting here at 10 o'clock, I'm going to get a gun out myself and force you to go home, okay?
He walks away before I can answer, and the next moment he's ruining Tanya's lipstick with a kiss. I don't want to look, but somehow I can't help it. Who's that, darling? Tanya asks in a loud voice, and when Brad looks my way, my face goes red.
She's my temporary assistant,
he tells Tanya, emphasizing the word temporary.
You met her a few weeks ago.
Oh, Tanya says, sounding bored. I don't remember. Huh, what a horrible dress she's wearing. You ought to pay her more money, Brad. I sit there unhappily, listening to Tanya laugh. It's all very confusing. I don't understand how Brad can look at me the way he does, and then let Tanya be so horrible about me. And suddenly, I wish Barry would get here. Boring but nice Barry, who thinks I look good whatever I'm wearing. But suddenly I realize Barry's never going to come here, because this isn't the restaurant we arranged to meet in. Oh, no! I push back my chair and get up so quickly I manage to drop my handbag. My purse falls out and coins roll everywhere. Under tables, under handbags, under feet. Oh, no! I start to pick the money up, apologizing to people as I reach under their tables.
Collecting change for the bus, Alex, says a familiar voice,
causing me to bang my head on a table.
Careful, Brad advises, holding out a 20-pence piece that has rolled right across the room.
Standing up and rubbing my head, I look at him, knowing Tanya is still laughing at me. I take the coin from his fingers. Ah, thank you. I'm just trying to think of something, anything, more interesting to say, Something to make him realize that I'm the woman of his dreams, not Tanya, when the restaurant door opens and a bunch of Kiss flowers walks in. "Alex!" says Barry's voice from behind the flowers. "I've been searching for you in every restaurant in town. Happy birthday!" Chapter 4. Talking isn't always easy. It's still my 30th birthday. Yes, doesn't time pass slowly when you're having fun? Barry has suggested we stay in this restaurant now, so here we are, sitting at a table for two with romantic music playing in the background. Brad and Tanya the Terrible are still here. I can see them looking into each other's eyes at their own table for two, at the other end of the room. This is how I'm feeling. Old, fat, foolish, jealous. You'll probably be thinking that things can't get any worse. If you are, then you're quite wrong. Barry's looking at me with a pleased kind of expression on his face. "What is it?" I ask, feeling immediately suspicious. But just as I do, I notice that the entire restaurant staff are walking towards me, smiling in just the same way Barry's smiling. They stop a metre or so away from our table, all except one girl who's holding a large bunch of balloons. "Happy birthday, Alex," she says, and ties the balloons to the back of my chair. Then she steps back to join the rest of the staff, and they all start to sing, very loudly. "Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, dear Alex, happy birthday to you." The balloons surround my face, green, blue, yellow, and red. I want to die. Then, just when I think the nightmare's over, one of the waiters gives a cough before making an announcement.
"Ladies and gentlemen,"
he shouts, so loudly Mum and Dad can probably hear him in Rottingdean.
"Today is Alex Fay's 30th birthday. 30 today. 3 cheers for Alex!"
Then everybody in the restaurant joins in. "Hooray!" they cheer. "Hooray! Hooray!" I try to speak. I'm only able to whisper, very, very quietly. "Thank you," I say. "Thank you very much." Over on the other side of the restaurant, I can see Brad and Tanya laughing. And now I can add something else to my list of how I'm feeling. Embarrassed. I now feel old, fat, foolish, jealous, and embarrassed. Thank you, Barry. Thank you, life. Thank you very much. On the other side of the table, I notice that Barry's still looking pleased with himself. He has no idea how I feel at all. He actually thinks, he's done something special for me. Barry has been my boyfriend for 2 years. 2 years! And he has no idea at all that this is the worst day of my entire life. "Good news," he says, spreading butter on some bread. "My company heard today from the council about that work for the motorway bridges. We got it." "Good," I say automatically, watching him eat his bread. I don't feel at all hungry at the moment myself. In fact, right now I don't feel as if I shall ever want to eat anything again. This is funny in a way, because Barry and I actually met because of a plate of food. I was at a friend's wedding party, and there was lots of delicious food. I was very hungry, so I had piled my plate with food, and, I'm sure you've already guessed it, I dropped the plate. Some of the food landed on my new dress, but most of it went on Barry. The messiest food went on Barry. Amazingly, he didn't shout at me. You see, even then he was too nice. We just found a kitchen and cleaned our clothes up a little, and then we sat and chatted. Barry was really interested in everything I had to say. I liked that. "It does mean I'll be working away from home for a while, though," he's saying to me now. "We won't see so much of each other for a few weeks." This is my chance to tell him. I lick my lips, feeling suddenly nervous. Then, when I'm just about to speak, I suddenly notice something happening at Brad and Tanya's table. Something that makes me feel very happy indeed. Brad and Tanya are having an argument.
"Alex," Barry says, "didn't you hear what I said? I said I'll miss you."
Yes, yes, I say impatiently, trying to hear Brad and Tanya's conversation.
"It's not my fault, Tanya,"
I can hear him saying.
"I had no idea. No idea at all. Believe me."
"But what will people think?"
Tanya cries.
"Everyone will be talking about it. It's horrible! Horrible!"
What? What will everyone be talking about? What's horrible? What?
"Alex?"
I realize Barry's speaking to me.
"I asked you if you would miss me too."
Yes, yes, of course I will, I answer without thinking, looking at the couple on the far side of the room. As I watch, Tanya gets to her feet. Picking up her handbag, she walks quickly away from the table. Brad gets up more slowly, putting some money down on the table before he starts to follow her.
"Good."
I'm only faintly conscious of Barry saying to me as Tanya walks past us,
"Because I really care about you, Alex. I really do."
What? I'm not listening to Barry because Brad's walking towards me now, and he's looking at me. Even in the middle of a crisis, he's staring at me in that special way. It must mean something. It must. He stops briefly at our table.
"Happy birthday, Alex,"
he says in his attractive, deep voice.
"Remember, don't stay up too late."
Then he leaves the restaurant.
"Who was that?"
Barry asks. "My boss."
"Oh."
Barry looks thoughtful for a while, then smiles.
"They don't seem very happy, do they?"
he says.
"Not like us. We never argue, do we?"
I wake up the next morning feeling terrible. Not because I drank too much wine last night this time, but just because I don't like myself very much. Barry has gone away to build bridges for motorways, with no idea that I don't want to be his girlfriend any longer. If I ever do write my adventure book, it will be impossible to base the character of the girl on myself. I'm too frightened even to talk to my boyfriend. Still, I've woken up early enough to walk to work for once, so after checking that my shoes are the same colour, I leave my flat and walk down the street to the seafront. Even feeling as miserable as I do, I notice the sea looks almost as blue as it does in the summer. It's a beautiful day, cold but sunny, with only a gentle wind. It isn't a day to feel miserable for long, and by the time I reach the Grand Hotel, the sunshine has cheered me up. I wonder if Kitten's still staying at the hotel, and whether she has forgiven Puppy yet. And then I remember Brad and Tanya's argument, and smile. I still have no idea what it was about, but it really did sound serious. Perhaps they have broken up. Perhaps Brad's now a free man. Feeling suddenly keen to arrive at work, I begin to walk faster. If Brad and Tanya have broken up, he'll probably be a little sad for a while, I suppose. He'll need someone to talk to. As I hurry along, I imagine him talking to me about it. Perhaps we'll go to the Seaview Cafe again, or maybe we'll just sit in the gallery. Anyway, it will just be me and him. I'll listen to him. I'll be understanding, though not too understanding. He'll look into my eyes as he talks, and suddenly he'll realize he doesn't care about breaking up with Tanya after all. By the time I reach Ship Street, I'm so anxious to arrive at work, I'm practically running. I rush around the corner and bang straight into someone. "Brad!"
For goodness sake, Alex.
Brad is standing in the middle of the pavement, and he has to reach out to stop me from falling over.
Can't you look where you're going?
"Sorry," I say breathlessly. "I didn't see you."
Obviously not.
He lets go of my arms but doesn't start walking. Instead, he turns to look up the road in the direction of the gallery, and I suddenly get the feeling that something's wrong. "What is it?" I ask, and when he points, I notice a small crowd of people standing outside the gallery. They all seem to be holding cameras. "Who are they?" I ask, feeling puzzled, and Brad frowns.
"Journalists,"
he says.
"Come on. We'll get into the gallery round the back."
And the next moment, he has turned down a narrow path between two buildings. "Brad," I say, following him, "what's going on?"
"Shh!"
He hurries along, keeping close to the wall as if he's a private detective in a film. Either that or a criminal on the run from the police. "Brad, are you in some sort of trouble?" I ask, but he doesn't answer, and just keeps on hurrying along the narrow pathway. I can smell food, fish, and realize we're now behind the fish restaurant. The path is taking us behind the shops and restaurants in Ship Street. Yes, there's the back of the art gallery. "I wish you'd tell me what's happening," I say. "Shh," he says as he looks around, and I realize he's checking to see if there are any journalists about. By now, I'm almost dying of curiosity. Yesterday was strange enough, with the gallery being closed, but this is a real mystery. And suddenly, I remember Tanya's words in the restaurant last night. "What will people think?" she said. And everyone will be talking about it. There must be some connection between these journalists and what she was talking about. But what? Chapter 5. The Wrong Pictures.
"I'll open the door,"
Brad whispers.
"You go in first. I'll lock the door behind us, but stay in the back office. Don't let them see you."
Feeling more and more as if I'm acting in a film, I do as he says, and soon we're both in the small office at the back of the art gallery with the door locked.
"I'll close the curtains,"
he says, still whispering, and soon the room's in darkness. I realize that the only sound I can hear is Brad's breathing. We're quite alone together, just me and Brad in the darkness. And I know exactly what advice my mother would give me if she were here. "Move as close to him as you can," she would say, "and he might kiss you." So I do move a bit closer, but Brad doesn't seem to notice.
"I expect you want to know what all this is about,"
he says. What? It's difficult to concentrate. My head's so filled with pictures of him kissing me. In the darkness, I hear Brad sigh.
"I said I expect you want to know what all this is about."
"Oh, yes. Yes, please."
"Read this,"
he says, handing me a newspaper. There's just enough light coming through the curtains for me to read the headline. "Brighton Gallery in Forgery Scandal." What? I can't believe my eyes. Forgery scandal? What does it mean? I ask again. Brad's face looks worried.
Those Ralph Blackman paintings I bought, he says. They turned out to be fakes.
Fakes? I repeat the word stupidly, and he frowns at me.
Yes, fakes,
he says very slowly, as if I'm a child.
You know, painted by someone who isn't Ralph Blackman, but signed with Ralph Blackman's name.
I know what a fake is, I say a little crossly.
Good, he says. Then you also know what trouble is, and police questioning. Something like this is terrible for business. We'll lose our good name. Arthur Grant won't be the only artist to leave the gallery.
You've been questioned by the police?
Yes, most of yesterday. I told them I didn't know about the paintings. I'm not sure they believe me, though.
They won't send you to prison, will they? I say worriedly. Brad's face looks worse than ever, and I realize he hasn't thought about the possibility of going to prison. Why can't I think before I speak?
I don't know,
he says, sounding really unhappy. But you didn't know the paintings were fakes. You really thought Ralph Blackman had painted them. If anyone goes to prison, it should be the person who sold them to you, I say, hoping to make him feel better. Brad bought the paintings during my first week at the gallery. I remember it well because I thought they were horrible, dark pictures of trees and fields in the rain. I didn't say anything about not liking them at the time, though. Well, Brad said Ralph Blackman was a famous artist, you see, and I didn't want him to know I had never heard of him. Brad was very pleased because he had bought the paintings so cheaply. The very next week he sold them again for double the money to an American. But now it turns out that they were fakes, not real Ralph Blackmans at all. Is this what Tanya was so worried about? I ask him. But when he looks at me, I wish I hadn't. He looks sort of dangerous.
What do you mean?
He asks.
How do you know about that?
My face is going red again. I can feel it. Well, last night I wasn't listening. I just heard. Tanya wasn't exactly speaking quietly, was she? He looks at me for a while, then sighs.
No, I suppose you're right. She wasn't. And yes, this is what she was so worried about. Tanya's father's a judge. She was worried about what he would say if this was in the newspapers.
As he speaks, he pushes one hand through his hair. It's something he often does when he's thinking. I love the way it makes his hair all untidy. I look away from him, trying to concentrate. I know it's important to say the right thing now, and I can't afford to be thinking about Brad's hair. Well, I say, taking a deep breath, if you want to know what I think, then... Well, I think Tanya should know this isn't your fault. She should know you wouldn't do something like this on purpose. You aren't a criminal. There is silence in the room for a while after my little speech. I wonder if I've said too much. After all, Tanya is his girlfriend. Or at least, she was. Just then we both hear a noise from next door. One of the journalists is shouting through the letterbox.
Mr. Courtney, can you tell us how many of the paintings in your gallery at the moment are fakes?
How dare they?
Brad says angrily, and the next moment he's opening the door to the art gallery and rushing through.
None of the pictures in this art gallery are fakes,
I hear him shout, and I quickly follow him into the gallery. Outside, I can see the journalists going crazy. There are perhaps 10 or 12, and they're staring at us through the glass windows as if we're animals in a zoo. Some are taking photographs, and some are banging on the glass, shouting,
Mr. Courtney, look this way, please.
Is it true the police arrested you yesterday, Mr. Courtney?
What does Judge Stevenson think about this, Mr. Courtney?
I moved to stand next to Brad, and instantly the cameras are pointed in my direction too. Perhaps we should just leave, Brad, I suggest, but he won't hear of it.
No,
He says angrily.
not until I've killed these fools.
Murder wouldn't be very good publicity for the gallery, I say, taking his arm to lead him back to the office. Come on, let's just go. But when we get into the office, we find the journalists have discovered the back entrance to the gallery.
Mr. Courtney!
They shout, banging on the back door. We're trapped. Oh, now what do we do? I ask, and Brad runs both hands through his hair, thinking.
I know what I'd like to do, he replies, but I suppose we're just going to have to walk through them. Unless we want to spend the next 48 hours trapped in this office, that is.
Yes, please, I think, but Brad is already planning our escape.
Okay, here's what we'll do,
He says.
We'll walk straight out of the front door, and we'll say nothing to them except no comment. Whatever they say to us, that's all we say, okay? No comment.
No comment, I say, practicing, and he nods.
Good.
Then he leads the way back into the gallery. As he unlocks the door, the journalists are all shouting questions at him, and when we go outside, they crowd around us, shouting and taking photographs.
Mr. Courtney! Mr. Courtney!
Miss, can I ask who you are, miss? I look at the journalist who asked the question. No comment, I say. No comment. We start to walk down Ship Street, but they follow us, so Brad takes my hand.
Come on, he says. Let's run.
We start to run. So do the journalists. I wish my mother could see me. She would definitely like the way my life has suddenly become so exciting. I'm really enjoying myself.
Quickly, get into my car,
says Brad when we reach the seafront. I jump in beside him and he starts the engine. As we drive quickly off, I look over my shoulder. The journalists are standing in a disappointed group on the corner of Ship Street. Chapter 6. Hillview House. We lost them! I cheer, but Brad's still frowning.
For now, he says. For now.
But I refuse to be calm. This is so exciting, I say, and this time his frown is rather cool.
I'm very glad my personal disaster is so entertaining, Alex, he says.
Oh dear. I didn't mean that, Brad, I tell him quickly. I don't want you to be in trouble. It's just that, well, this is so much more interesting than sitting in the gallery answering the telephone and watching people walk by outside.
Your job is to help me to sell paintings, Alex, he reminds me, not to watch tourists.
Oh, me and my big mouth. Brad gives a little laugh, and I decide it's probably best to keep quiet for a while. I'm so busy thinking about everything that's just happened that it isn't until some time later that I realize I don't know where we're going. Brad?
What?
Where are we going? I ask. He stops at some traffic lights and looks at me.
To get some country air. I need to think.
Oh, I say, feeling suddenly happy. Lovely. A day out in the countryside with Brad. There's no need at all for him to take me with him, but he obviously wants to. He wants to be with me. He wants to be with me. I'm so happy I feel like singing. Then I remember my shoes. As I told you, they're the same colour today, but unfortunately they aren't flat, sensible shoes, suitable for walking in the countryside. They're fashion shoes, and I've already done that long walk from my flat to Ship Street in them. In short, my feet hurt.
What's wrong?
Brad asks. Nothing, I say, but too late. Brad has already seen me looking doubtfully down at my feet. He smiles.
Oh, Alex, Alex, Alex,
he says.
Do you ever wear the right shoes?
Then he starts to laugh. But you know, somehow I don't mind this time. This laughter's somehow different, friendly, warm. So I laugh too. Not often, I say. I always love driving away from Brighton into the countryside. Don't misunderstand me. I love living in Brighton. It's a lively town with lots to do and see. It's just that sometimes, in the summer, it feels a little as if the tourists have stolen the town from those of us who live there all year round. They walk slowly along by the sea with their ice creams, wearing silly hats, and then they all travel home again at the same time in the evening, blocking the roads and filling the trains. When the tourists stop coming in the autumn, it feels as if we get the town back again. This is when it's fun to cycle along the seafront, past the no cycling signs, or to walk to Rottingdean, past the marina and along the path next to the sea. When the sea's rough, the waves hit the wall by the side of the path and shoot right up into the air. If you don't run fast enough, you get very wet. Running from the waves is a game I really enjoy. When Brad's my boyfriend, I'll suggest we play the running from the waves game. It's like being a child again, but it can also be quite romantic because you can scream and hold on to each other. Once, when I played the game with Barry, we both got really wet. But I don't want to think about Barry, or I'll start to feel guilty again.
Was that your boyfriend you were with last night?
Brad asks just then, and I look at him, wondering if he can read my thoughts. I hope not. That was Barry. He's just a friend. I lie, although it isn't a complete lie. You see, I do like Barry. I'd be very sad if I thought I'd never see him again. I'd really like us to stay friends.
And it was your 30th birthday?
How did you guess that? I joke, remembering the balloons and the singing.
Alex, Brad says, 30 isn't old. You're just a baby.
And he leans forward to switch on some music. Thanks, I say happily, wondering how old he is. I don't ask him, though. I'm too afraid to. But I'd guess... maybe 37 or 38. Definitely not older than that. Just the right age for me. We drive past Lewes, a pretty little market town with a ruined castle, and then the road heads into the green hills. These hills are called the South Downs, and they always remind me of the backbone of some ancient, large animal. They're beautiful at all times of the year. The weather over the downs can sometimes be different from the weather in Brighton, even though the town isn't very far away. It's like that today. In Brighton it was sunny, but here it's grey, and the downs look very dark against the sky. To tell you the truth, the scene looks a bit like a Ralph Blackman painting, and I think Brad thinks so too. Anyway, he's frowning again, and suddenly he reaches forward to switch off the cheerful music.
It's damn well going to rain,
he says. Yes, I have to agree. It does look like it. I hope Brad will change his mind about going for a walk if it does rain. It's true that I don't mind getting wet by the sea. That's fun. But walking through mud in unsuitable shoes isn't fun. No fun at all. Through the car window, I can see Firle Beacon, the highest point along this part of the downs. The cloud's so low by now, it's hiding the hilltop completely. We pass a farm shop by the side of the road. There are Christmas trees for sale outside. I look at them with a sense of surprise, wondering if it will ever feel like Christmas this year. Suddenly, Brad slows the car down, and my heart sinks. I try to tell myself it won't be so bad, that rain, mud, and cold will be fun if I'm with Brad, but somehow I can't quite believe it. The car turns right, travelling up a narrow, rough road in the direction of Firle Beacon, and when we go round a corner, I can see a house ahead. The house is dark-looking, but then everything looks dark by now. It looks as if it's about to rain very heavily indeed. The road stops at the house, and to my great surprise, so does the car. "Where are we?" I ask, but Brad's already getting out.
I should hurry up if you don't want to get wet,
he says, and then to my amazement, he takes a key from his pocket and walks up to the house. I follow him slowly. There's a sign outside, Hillview House. "Do you live here?" I ask, joining him in the hall.
Sometimes,
he says.
This place belonged to my grandmother. She was a friend of the Bloomsbury Group.
He looks at me.
You have heard of the Bloomsbury Group, haven't you?
Yes, of course. I really have, actually. Most people who live in this area have. The Bloomsbury Group was a group of artists who lived and worked together in the 1930s. They had a house called Charleston, which is near here. Barry and I visited it once. I think he thought it was a bit crazy, but I thought it was beautiful. The whole house is decorated with paintings, the doors, the walls, even the furniture. Brad looks at me doubtfully.
He says. Well, anyway, my grandmother bought this house intending to turn it into another Charleston, but unfortunately she was no artist. She was happy here, though. This is where my mother was born. I came here for holidays as a boy.
I immediately have a picture of him as a little boy in my mind, wearing short trousers, his black hair untidy. "It's a lovely house," I say, and Brad nods.
Yes, I think so. Not everyone wants to live in the countryside, though.
I can't imagine Tanya living here at all. It's much too far away from fashion shops and smart cafe bars. "I could live here," I tell him without thinking, and he looks at me. What he says next takes me totally by surprise.
Well, he says, that's interesting, because I was going to ask you if you would. At least not live here, but stay here. For tonight, anyway. I don't want to go back to Brighton today. Of course, if you don't want to stay, I could drive you to Lewes and you could catch a train back to Brighton.
Wow, wow, wow! Me and Brad alone in this wonderful place. I can't believe my luck. "No," I say quickly. "No, that would be fine. I mean, I'd like to stay."
I always want to paint when the rest of my life is in a mess, he says, taking off his coat and hanging it up. This is where I have my studio.
"You're an artist?" I ask, amazed.
Yes, I'm an artist.
He holds out his hand for my coat.
Why is that so surprising?
I don't know. I mean, it isn't. I'm embarrassed again, but Brad's smiling.
It's all right, Alex. You weren't to know.
He hangs up my coat and goes into the kitchen to put the kettle on. When I follow him, I see that the kitchen's painted a warm yellow with a red-brown floor. Very Mediterranean-looking. Nice.
Come on, Brad says. I'll show you my paintings while we wait for the water to boil.
As I follow him up the stairs, I feel really excited. I'm finding so much out about Brad today. So much has happened, and it's still only 11 o'clock.
This is the studio, he says,
leading the way into a big square room with very large windows. "Oh, what a fantastic view!" I say, crossing to the window to look out. Outside, the skies are still dark, but it hasn't started to rain yet. But even in this poor light, the view of Firle Beacon is wonderful. The room is perfect for an artist. Brad doesn't seem interested in the view. I can hear him moving things around in the room behind me, and when I turn round, I notice several paintings leaning against the wall. They're all facing the wrong way, but because of the view from the window, I guess they will be landscapes. I'm so sure about it that when Brad turns 2 round the right way, I can't help but gasp with surprise.
"What is it?"
he asks, frowning at me.
"Don't you like them?"
For a moment, I can't think of anything to say. The paintings aren't landscapes at all. To be honest, I've no idea what they are. One of them seems to be completely black, except for a small green spot in one corner, and the other seems to be all white. All white. It doesn't even have any spots. "Yes!" I cry quickly. "Of course I like them. They're, But I have to stop because I can't think how to continue the sentence. Panicking a little, I start another one. Is that one a snow scene?" I ask. My question is followed by a long silence. It's as quiet as it was in the gallery office. I can hear his breathing again. Brad's frowning. I realize I've made a big mistake.
"No, Alex,"
he says at last.
"It's not a snow scene. It's not a scene at all. I'm not a landscape painter."
"Oh," I say, swallowing nervously. "Sorry, I don't know much about modern art."
"So it would seem."
Brad returns his paintings to their place against the wall, as if I'm no longer allowed to see them.
"And yet, if I remember correctly, when you came to the job interview, you told me you knew a lot about art."
It's true, I did say that. Okay, I lied. But you see, as soon as I saw Brad, I knew I had to get the job. I was a desperate girl, and I took desperate action. Well, I do know about art," I say. "Well, a bit, anyway. Just not modern art."
"Okay. Who's your favourite artist?"
he demands to know. By now I'm panicking so much that for a moment the only artist's name I can remember is Ralph Blackman's. Luckily, I realize it wouldn't be a good idea to say his name, though, and I think for a little while longer. "Van Gogh!" I shout at last, and he looks at me doubtfully.
"Okay,"
he says.
"Name 3 paintings by Van Gogh."
I say, thinking hard.
2 paintings. Come on, Alex. 1 painting.
Suddenly I remember one and shout out its name excitedly. "Sunflowers!" Brad doesn't seem to be impressed. He shakes his head.
"Alex, every person in the world has heard of sunflowers," he says.
"Well, I haven't got a very good memory for names," I say weakly. "That's why I can't think of any more titles."
He says. "I'm not sure I entirely believe you, Alex, but never mind. Go and make the coffee while I get my paints ready, would you?"
By the time I return with the coffee, Brad's staring hard at his white painting. In fact, he hardly notices I'm there. He just takes his coffee and keeps right on staring. I stare at the painting too, trying to see more in it than just white. Eventually I notice that it's painted in 3 or 4 different types of white. Blue white, grey white, green white, and plain white. The more I look, the more I see. Some of the paint's thick, and some of the paint's thin. The different whites look a bit like rocks covered by snow. Brad might not think he has painted a snow scene, but I still think he has. Not that I intend to say that to him, though.
"Go for a walk or something, won't you, Alex?"
Brad says to me over his shoulder.
"I prefer to be alone when I'm painting."
I look out of the window. It is now raining very hard indeed. Firle Beacon has almost disappeared from view.
"Or if you don't want to do that," he continues, "why don't you find yourself a book to read? There are plenty in the sitting room. I'll be about 2 or 3 hours here."
So I wander downstairs, trying not to feel fed up. If Tanya were here instead of me, would it be different? Would he send her downstairs to read a book while he painted a picture? Somehow I can't imagine it. Chapter 7. Alone with Brad. In the sitting room, the books on the shelves look boring. Besides, I don't feel like reading. I've got too much on my mind. Being alone overnight here with Brad is my big chance to make something happen between us. I can't waste it. Alex, I tell myself, you need a plan. Then suddenly, I have a brilliant idea. I'll cook a really special meal. A meal so delicious that when Brad tastes it, he'll see that I can be creative too. I hurry to the kitchen to check the fridge. Chicken, carrots, mushrooms, potatoes. Excellent! I can make a chicken casserole. Singing happily to myself, I set to work preparing the vegetables and chopping up the chicken. Casseroles are perfect for a cold, wet winter's day. They warm you up. Also, they are very easy to make, as you'll know if you've ever made one. All you have to do is throw the ingredients into a dish, add a little water, put the dish into the oven, and leave it to cook for a few hours. It's impossible for anything to go wrong. In fact, the casserole is so easy to prepare that after 20 minutes I have nothing to do again. Outside it's still raining heavily, so I go back into the sitting room to give Brad's books a second chance. I take down an art book, but soon put it back on the shelf. It contains pictures of paintings that look a lot like Brad's. Actually, I really hate to admit it, but I'm very disappointed by Brad's paintings. I like Brad so much. I want to like his paintings too, and... well, I don't. I don't even think Mum would like them, actually. She likes a lot of modern art, but I think even she would say Brad's pictures were boring. But I don't want to think about it, because the words boring and Brad just don't go together in my mind. I choose a detective story and take it over to the sofa. But I'm afraid that by the time I finish reading a few pages of the dull detective's dull inquiries, I'm asleep. So deeply asleep, I don't wake up until I hear Brad calling my name, and by then the room's dark.
Alex!
Brad calls down the stairs.
I'm sure I can smell something burning.
The casserole! I jump up and run wildly from the room.
What's wrong?
Brad asks me from the landing, but I don't stop. Nothing, nothing, I say, running down the hall. Brad doesn't seem to believe me. He hurries downstairs and arrives in the smoke-filled kitchen shortly after I do.
Bloody hell!
He swears.
What have you been doing, Alex?
As I open the oven door, even more smoke fills the room. Just a bit of cooking, I say. Cooking and... sleeping. I'm sure I don't need to tell you that the evening doesn't turn out the way I'd planned it at all. The only food left in the house is 2 frozen lasagnas, which Brad heats up in the microwave. I offer to do it, but he won't allow me to.
No,
he says.
You'd probably blow the microwave up.
And by now I feel such a failure, I almost think he's right. I had intended to serve my wonderful meal in the dining room with soft lights and nice music, a romantic background for what, I hoped, would be a romantic evening. Instead, we eat our heated-up lasagnas in the sitting room watching a quiz show on television. I hate quiz shows. Well, that's not quite true. What I hate about quiz shows is not knowing the answers to any of the questions. If I knew as many answers as Brad obviously does, then perhaps I would like quiz shows as much as he seems to like them. Here we are, alone in the countryside, sitting next to each other on the sofa. And yet the situation is definitely not romantic.
Michael Faraday!
Shouts Brad in answer to the question, who first thought of the electric light bulb? And
Champs-Élysées!
To the question, on what famous street does the Tour de France cycle race end? It's only too obvious he's completely forgotten that I'm sitting next to him at all. Perhaps you ought to write to the television company to ask if you can appear on the quiz show, I suggest. Brad watches as a woman on the television wins £10,000.
I'll probably have to do just that with the trouble the gallery's in at the moment.
He sighs.
I've got to pay the customer who bought those fake Ralph Blackman paintings a lot of money soon, and I'm not certain I can afford it.
He looks at me.
Actually, Alex, he says, I'm not sure I can afford you any longer, to be honest. As from tomorrow, I'm going to have to manage without an assistant.
What? I stare at him. You mean you don't want me to work for you anymore?
The job was only temporary, he reminds me. I'm just ending it sooner than I thought I would. I know it's almost Christmas, but I'm afraid I have no choice.
I sit there with my dirty lasagna plate on my knees, feeling totally shocked.
It's a pity, really, Brad says. Of course, you are about as useful to me in the gallery as you seem to be in a kitchen, but you are pleasant to look at. June isn't. Oh, June's very well organized, but she isn't pretty.
My mind is finding it difficult to manage. It's trying to deal with two very different shocks at the same time. One nasty shock, and one fantastic shock. You really think I'm pretty? I ask at last, preferring to think about the fantastic shock rather than the nasty shock.
Well, he says, looking at me, perhaps not quite so pretty as usual, with your mouth open the way it is at the moment.
I quickly close my mouth.
But usually, yes, I think you are pretty. Of course you have your faults. I mean, your hair's often messy, and some of your clothes are—
Don't spoil it, I say quickly, and he smiles.
Anyway, I'm afraid the fact that you're pretty doesn't help me to pay that customer the money I owe him, so I'm sorry, but—
I have to go. I finish his sentence for him.
Yes.
Right. I'm not doing very well at achieving the things on my list, am I? I'm not married to Brad. I'm not engaged to Brad. I'm not even his girlfriend. And as from tomorrow, I'm not even going to be employed by him.
You aren't going to cry, are you?
He asks, sounding worried.
I'm not very good with women who cry.
And suddenly I feel as if I might be very close to tears. No, I say, my voice shaking a little. I'm not going to cry. But then I am crying. I can't help it. Brad groans.
Hell,
he says, and takes the dirty plate from my knees and puts it on the floor.
Come here, you silly thing,
he says, and he looks deep into my red eyes.
It really isn't anything to cry about,
he says softly, but it's no use. I can't stop crying. In fact, it seems worse with him being so nice to me.
Oh, Alex, please. Don't cry,
he says, and then he puts his arm around me. I'm so surprised I stop crying almost immediately. Ever since I first met Brad, I've wanted him to hold me in his arms, and now, at last, it's happened. It's not the same as when I ran into him and he held me to stop me from falling over. It's the real thing. And any moment now, he'll kiss me.